We've got the president of the FADA, the Dealers Association, John K. Paul, who's joining us right now. Firstly, good afternoon, and we appreciate your time today, Mr. Paul. It's got to be a really busy day for you, and not just you, but all your colleagues.
Very true. Very true. There's so many calls going on up and down.
All right. Well, let me just jump straight into it. I mean, the fact that the Supreme Court came out with this decision, of course, may have been a surprise to some people, but it was certainly a scenario that was being considered. At what point were you really involved with those discussions with the OEMs in terms of how to deal with this sort of a scenario?
See, I don't think most OEMs expected this to come through. They thought there will be some sort of a concession. So did we from FADA. But then the Supreme Court has taken a decision looking at the public health, and there's no two ways about it. But now we are facing this, especially the dealers, the dealer community. I mean, not every dealer is as big as a manufacturer. So they have been, it's quite tragic sometimes. We think could be catastrophic, but I think, we Indians find a way to somehow get things through. So all manufacturers, everybody has taken stock of the situation and have come out with solutions that can somehow liquidate most of the stock by today. And of course, what is left, probably we'll have to sit down and find a solution for that.
All right, run us through some of those solutions though, Mr. Paul, because of course discounting is something that we've been hearing about, and that is something that's clearly, got a lot of people excited as well in the customer side of things. But any other things that we are missing besides the discounts that are being offered?
No, I think, as far as two-wheelers are concerned, it looks like most two-wheelers may get sold out, or at least 90% of them seem to are getting sold out. Okay, whatever has been with the dealers. So the discounts have been very high, and they all, or most of them, have been supported by the manufacturer.
Right. But you say about 90% of the inventory is likely to be sold out. We're talking about a large inventory there, about 6,71,000 units.
I'm talking about the inventory that is lying with the dealers.
Right.
Most part of the inventory that is lying with the dealers, because moving inventory from the manufacturer to dealers in 2 days is not going to happen. Or it's a very small quantity that would have happened.
But Mr. Paul, let me ask you this question, because the scenario we've been presented by most manufacturers is that they actually aren't holding any of this inventory at the plant end, and most of it has actually moved out to the dealers. So are you saying there is still some part of it that's in the pipeline?
There definitely could be some inventory, because the last few days of manufacturing was going on. So there could have been the last week or 10 days of inventory, week's inventory, you can say.
Right,
but most of the inventory would be with the dealers, and the discounts seem to have, photos are coming from different areas where customers are coming and actually waiting for the shop to open. So I think there has been a big thing. It is beyond my expectation. I didn't think that was going to make such an impact, but it seems to be making a great impact.
So the question I have to ask you, because of course you're right. I mean, the crowds at the dealerships, it's almost like Diwali came early, but who takes that hit when it comes to the actual discounting? Because in some cases, we are told the discounts are as high as 25%, and this is, of course, specific to two-wheelers.
See, some of the manufacturers have actually offered 20,000. Okay, some of the manufacturers have gone from between 5 to 20,000 has been the offer from the manufacturers themselves. So if it's like 22,000, then it's probably 1 or 2,000 put in from the dealer side.
So are you pleased that this sort of protects the dealer margin? Are you happy with that sort of a scenario, the fact that the manufacturers are announcing these discounts?
See, I'm sorry, it's not the question of are we happy. This is not a situation which comes every day, but we need to handle the situation as it comes. So this is not something that is expected by the manufacturer or from the dealer side. So we've got to move in a direction that, there's no use in keeping this inventory. And the cost of doing anything with that inventory and converting into BS4 is going to be very high. So looking at all those things, I'm sure the manufacturers must have taken a decision to discount and get rid of the stock.
That's a fair point. And I have to now ask you, we tend to get caught up in the two-wheeler side of things simply because of the kind of staggering numbers that we see there. But What about the three-wheelers and commercial vehicles? Because there is a fair amount of inventory still on that side, and it's not as easy to move some of that just by discounting.
See, I think most three-wheelers don't come into this. Only a certain class of three-wheelers come in. Most here, the petrol three-wheelers, I think, had become BS4 a little while ago. But CVs and some part of Mahindra vehicles, and there are some here and there, but most cars were BS4 long time ago. So the CVs are the ones that are actually going through a tough position, because there you can't sell overnight and you need to get finance for most of it. So that is a problem.
All right, Mr. Paul, I have to ask you this question. We are also hearing certain reports, though I have to say that they're unsubstantiated, about certain dealers being given a directive to go ahead and at least register some of these products that they still hold, because today is the last day of registration, and then they could possibly be sold as second hand. Is that something that's credible at all?
No, I'm not. Actually, we have not got any official report, or there are no manufacturers actually officially given anybody a direction to do that. I'm not too sure if some dealers are doing it. But even then, if they did do it, it couldn't be in very large quantities. It could be quantities that they can handle, and they can probably give it as second-hand, or maybe even as lease out to customers. But I'm not sure. I'm quite sure that no manufacturers asked them to do it officially or given a mail in that direction.
All right, so that's reassuring. I have to also then ask you about, the point you made earlier about how it will be a prohibitive cost perhaps to retrofit or convert these existing BS3 vehicles to now BS4. But if that is one of the scenarios being considered, another one, of course, we're hearing is looking at export markets. The logistics of moving the stock back from your end, whatever is left at the end of the day, back to the manufacturers, is that something that's at all been discussed yet?
No, not yet. But I spoke to Mr. Dasari, who's the president of SIAM, and he's assured me that as soon after this, we can all sit down together, because we are all part of the same family. So we need to discuss this out and see how it can be, taken away from the dealers or converted, whatever best possible.
That then is my last question. Mr. Paul, I would like to know from you, is there any sort of a meeting that's already been thought about? Are you going to do this as, the association, or the two associations, I should say, the manufacturers as well as the FADA? How is it going to play out, and how soon?
See, we are waiting for the final order, the written order to come out, which is supposed to be on the 3rd of April. So we will get in touch after that, and we'll try and work out. By that time, we need to get a picture of what stocks lie in which dealer's area. So that is, and for which manufacturer, before we sit down and talk. And I'm sure most manufacturers will directly talk to their dealers and find a solution. In case it does not happen, only then FADA or SIAM will come into the picture.
All right, I appreciate that clarification and also your time today, and wish you all the very best with all these moves next week, as well as all the pressure on your dealers today, and thanks again.